that they've taken. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you guys through like a representative image for each kind of image. And I'm going to go ahead and start with series. A couple of you guys had questions about that, and I can use that to illustrate some of the features of what we're doing. Actually, I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start with Saturn and do the moon labeling thing first, because I think that's just a good overview of how Afterglow works, because there's some features that may not be immediately obvious. So let's go into File and grab an image of Saturn. So go into My Images, and then grab one of your Saturn images. And it should, that is not a good image. So I'm going to go grab another image of Saturn. So some of you guys, like obviously I had bad images just like some of you guys did. So let me see what level this is set on, because I have a feeling that this is probably not doing what it's supposed to do.
Are we doing Saturn as its moons or just Saturn?
We're just looking at Saturn and the moons right now. So I'm going to use a different folder of Saturn images.
Are these the, I know this is not like a good, but are these the moons?
Yep.
Okay, and this is
Well,
how
should
you
be.
are supposed to see the moons, right?
If you hit, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Those streaks are a bit weird, but
okay, and you can even use the one.
yeah.
Also,
What
I'm
do
sorry,
you mean
I'm
by
not
bad?
trying to bother you, but like
When we think of like
pseudo,
that could just mean like small. Can you show me? Yeah. Because I want to show you guys how to, like, if you think you have bad images, how to address those in the pre-lab.
for Pluto.
Try to get it. So go ahead and click the first button, and so we can fit this to the screen. Right there. I'll just let you go over this feature. Yeah, there's it's beautiful. Okay, great.
How do I know
Yeah,
which one
so,
it is? This is what,
Let's just go ahead and go through the material. If you have
Like,
questions,
is that
save them
not right?
for after the lab lecture at this point, because I might answer them in the lecture, like seems to kind of be happening right now. So once you've loaded your image of Saturn, the next thing I want you guys to do is go up here and hit the Fit button. And this just zooms the image so that you can see kind of like the whole thing on your screen. And it should be kind of maxed out right now, probably. So when you have that, you can already tell there's going to be a moon here. That's probably what that is. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to want to label some moons. And to do that, I want you guys to go into Window and open down the drop-down box. And you need to get this feature called histogram. Can anyone think why you might want that feature? Yeah.
Change the contrast.
Yeah. And so you can do a couple of like obvious things with it. Z-scale basically goes with having the image maxed out, and you can see some of the moons a little bit in here, but it's not a very clear feature sometimes. And then min-max shows you the entire image, and so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the target a little bit here. So your images should look something like this. Is this kind of what you guys have when you go on min-max and zoom in a bit? So you can kind of see a little bit of like detail. This is a really fuzzy one, but you can kind of see the rings and kind of the shape of the planet and stuff. So what I'm going to do now is, you see how there's these values for min and max? If you play with the max values, you'll kind of get a feel for how they work. But you can change them and bring out varying levels of detail in your image. And you want to play with them until you find a level that pulls out the most number of moons. And that's usually going to be somewhere around 99.95. Well, maybe 99.92. But just keep playing with it until you find something. So I'm trying 99.1. Notice 99.2 makes it darker. So let's try 89 and see what that does. So 89 makes it a little bit brighter. So from my screen, this seems to be a fairly good amount to get moons and label them. But you want to play around with it a little bit and find what the best value is when you're doing this. And you can see there's some moons here. That one should be a moon. It's possible that one's a star. I'll have to check in Stellarium, which is the next thing we're going to do in a minute. But that's either Titan or it's a star. So let's go ahead and pull up Stellarium now. So in addition to this, you guys are going to need to go over and open Stellarium. And it's going to open in full screen mode like it always does, which is going to be kind of annoying, but I'll show you guys how to deal with that too. Because you're going to need to be able to have both windows up simultaneously so that you can see your two images of Saturn and compare them. So, okay, you guys have Stellarium on its way. Here we go. Okay, so the way you're going to put the two things side by side, first go ahead and make sure you have the right location. Make sure that your location is set to La Serena, which is very close to our observatory in Chile. You're going to want to make sure that you have the date and the time set, and I'll show you how to do that momentarily. First though, let's make the screen a bit smaller. So the way to do that is to take this little button here with the 4 arrows, and if you click that, it kind of minimizes your window a bit, and you're going to want to make it even smaller so that you can put the two side by side. So just finagle it and get it kind of in a size where you can kind of set it alongside your image. All I did is I hit this thing here, which makes it so it's not full screen, and then I just grabbed a corner and just drug it down until I got it down to a size where I could kind of set it beside my image. So the way to know what time you took your image of your planet, you need to know that so you can take Stellarium and look at the object at the same time and in the same place that you looked at your image. So the way to do that is to go into File, go into Window actually, and click on Image Info. And when you do that, notice that it says taken at. Notice there's also a system time and a universal time, and also this thing called a Julian date. Ignore the Julian date. That gives like the number of like seconds or minutes or years or something since whenever they set that that date parameter, and that's just a way that all astronomers can kind of compare numbers back to a fixed date. And then obviously we're just going to use the system time. So we're going to go with what looks like 5 either PM or AM. I'm going to assume that that's AM, but if it puts me in the middle of like dawn or something, then I'll know it was the other way around. So let's go ahead and, where did my Stellarium thing go? So I'll bring that back up here. Okay, so I'm going to go to my date and time here. I'll bring up the time bar. That's this button right here that has the little thingamajigger there. And you can set the date, which I think mine was September the 11th.